Okay.
Is this your first time?
This is about what you want.
I want to have vaginal intercourse with you.
Okay.
This one is going to be less of a traditional review because I had the opportunity to chat with the director of Paying For It, as well as Chester Brown, the author of the graphic novel of which Lee adapted, and the other half of the relationship portrayed in this story. To say that this is a unique story, I think would be an understatement. Essentially, the film, as mentioned, is based on a graphic novel from Chester Brown, who happens to be Sook-Yin Lee's ex-partner, and the graphic novel is essentially showing the world his foray into paying for sex, his interactions and relationships with various sex workers, and this started while they were still technically together in some sort of unique, true to them, open relationship. Instead of being upset by their life being broadcast to the world, Sook-Yin Lee thought that it was brilliant and ultimately chose to adapt the novel into a feature film, and they are still, to this day, best friends. I had the opportunity to chat with them at TIFF just before the world premiere, and then I caught up with them again on Zoom. Here's a little bit more about their origin story and how they got to this point.
My fandom of Chester Brown preceded my knowing him. When he just put out the serialized comics, and the back was a kind of letter section he called the Fur Bag, and it actually had his address in Toronto.
Yeah, she left a letter. She put it in the mail slot in the mailbox.
And then, we became close and romantic, and then suddenly he was moving to Vancouver to be with me. He shocked the heck out of me. I didn't know, but he got into the house somehow.
I got into the house because she gave me a key. How could I have gotten into the house if I didn't have a key?
He might have, I don't know, but unbeknownst to me, he was inside the house and he was hiding in the closet, and then he walked out. But anyway, I was a really big fan of Chester's. He's like bar none one of the best storytellers ever. And so when Paying For It came out in 2011, I was just like, wow.
Paying For It stars Emily Lay as Sonny, a kind of stand-in for Sook-Yin, alongside Dan Beirne, who plays Chester. At its core, it is a film about real humans. It showcases the real-life relationship between Sonny, or Sook-Yin, and Chester as they end their romantic relationship, but continue to live with each other, starting off as an open relationship and then really just turning into friendship. They never officially broke up to this date, but they just figured out ways to make their relationship work in a non-romantic way. For Chester, it just so happened that at the core of it, it involved paying for sex. His original graphic novel, quite acclaimed, was at least in part intended to shine a light on sex work. He is a self-proclaimed libertarian, all about individual freedoms, and in particular here is an advocate for the decriminalization of sex work. Chester has always been supportive of Sook-Yin, and in fact, his reaction to seeing the film, or the first cut of the film, was quite a bit different than Sook-Yin's.
She and I and her boyfriend, partner, Dylan, we were going to go out for dinner. And while we were getting ready to go out, an email arrived on her computer, and it was the assembly cut of the film. We were curious or whatever, and we immediately sat down and watched the first scene. And Sook-Yin was
Horrified.
yeah, she was like, "Oh my God, it's a disaster.
Yeah,
This is terrible." And then we watched the first scene and we went to dinner, and she was just obsessing the whole time about how terrible that first scene was, and could she fix it? Could it be made right? And so then we went back to their place, and she ordered Dylan to go downstairs and start composing music for the first scene. And then I sat there while she looked over all the footage
Brought
for
the
the
raw.
scene. After about 20 minutes, she was like, "Oh, good.
I have it.
I can make it into a good
Yeah.
scene."
As mentioned, the film aims to humanize the profession of sex work. We have scenes where we're just in a room with Chester and a sex worker, and we hear their normal, everyday conversations. Most of the scenes are, in fact, just normal, everyday conversations. This film is not driven by a super tight, important plot where our main character goes on some sort of hero's journey. It is very much an exploration of what it means to be human in different ways. There is also a pretty brilliant subversion of nudity, at least how we see nudity being used in film for the most part, traditionally in Hollywood pictures, and before, nudity has been used as a tool, an extension of the male gaze, but it's very different here in Paying for It, which I thought was absolutely brilliant. We often see Dan Beirne, flaccid penis, front and center, nothing sexual about the nudity, just illustrating the vulnerability involved. And I asked Sook-Yin a little bit about Dan's willingness to do this and this subversion of traditional expectations of nudity in film.
Dan, he was also a very big Chester fan. He had already read the book. He came in gunning for it. Like at the end of his audition, he was like, "I love this project. I will do anything. I'm fine with full frontal, and I will even shave my head." We've all seen full frontal since the Renaissance, or even earlier with women. With men, it doesn't happen as often. And even in TV shows like Euphoria, we're seeing more full frontal. But a lot of those full frontals are fake prosthetics, and the actors will ask for perfectly formed cocks. And this is more like National Geographic. Sex work is not glamorized or made to look cool or terrible. It's just like very matter of fact, and as it is.
At the end of the day, I would love for more folks to watch Paying for It. It's about human relationships, it's about our own imperfections, it's about communication, and the film never preaches, it never tries to hammer home a core thesis other than sex workers are humans. Humans are humans, and we are all different. We love and we have friendships in a variety of ways, and what might work for you might not work for someone else. I did, before I let Sook-Yin and Chester go, I asked them about their relationship and if they had any advice for us, given that they are still friends several decades after ending their romantic relationship.
It was never really ever something that we had to work at.
Yeah.
In fact, like the norm of what you just described seemed absurd to us. It didn't make sense at all. So it was like we never actually ever broke up because it didn't apply to us. It was more like, okay, let's just see what happens here if we do this. There's just a lot of love there. And so I think yeah, I mean, I haven't felt that way with all of my partners. When you have a caring relationship where it's very significant and you obviously love one another, it's best to like embrace that. You know, a lot of people go, okay, if somebody cheats, they're dead to me. And what Chester brings up is almost like impossible ideals that we set upon each other and then also put parameters that box people in. And of course, you're going to be like a caged animal and desires beyond those boundaries. But also, I mean, I think cheating is kind of shitty because you're lying to the person. Like with Chester and I had these feelings, so I brought them up to him before acting on them, and were actually able to negotiate a conversation that involved our feelings, our desires, our love, and proceed from there.
Yeah, I've certainly felt jealous in other relationship situations, but I know in the moment that opens the film, that opens the book, I did not feel jealous in that moment. And probably it was because Sukin was being open with me rather than trying to hide something. So it was puzzling to me. Why aren't I jealous here? But I knew I still really loved Sukin, and I wanted things to work out between us as best they could.
Thanks so much for watching. Check out Paying For It. Like the video, comment, subscribe, do all those things. It's super helpful and nice of you as well. Watch the next one when it comes out, and have a great day. Cheers.